It is high noon in the District of Columbia. Points north, south, east, and west. We're going out west. That's right. Welcoming on Michael-Shawn Dugar to the program to help us get a better idea of what's going on in Seattle. Mike, what's up, dude? How you doing?
I'm doing good. How are you guys doing?
We're doing good, man.
All right, so the Seahawks are coming off a bye, traveling west to east. Seahawks are playing really good football, man. I've been a fan of that coach since he was in Baltimore. I thought that was a really good hire. Give us a little Seattle 101 maybe for a DMV crowd that hasn't watched a ton of Seahawks games this year.
I mean, the defense is nails. I mean, one of the best in the league. They go about it a lot differently than the last time the Seahawks had one of the best defenses in the league, where it was very much we're just going to line up and beat you. You know, we're not disguising coverages. We're not blitzing a ton. It really is just our guys are better than you, and you got to deal with that. And this is not that. This is much more disguise. Guys lining up in different spots. A lot of post-snap movement, pre-snap movement. Different guys rushing the passer. You know, different guys dropping into coverage. You know, multiplicity is probably the best word for it. Versatility. It's really different stuff, and it works. You know, it makes teams play below what their baseline is. You know, you go look at some teams before and after the game they played Seattle. You know, the Bucs game notwithstanding in Week 5, teams just don't look how they usually look. You know, and I think that's the sign of a good defense. You know, you could take a team and make them punch left-handed. You know, play below their standard. You know, you're going to win a lot of football games that way, and they have the best receiver in the league right now. Actually, I just got a text. He just won Offensive Player of the Month for October, Jackson Smith-Njigba in the NFC. I mean, he's killing it right now. What do we have? 400 yards and 3 touchdowns, you know, and that was with a bye week this month as well.
Wow.
Jackson's pretty hard to stop, kind of fits the archetype of what a number one receiver looks like right now. It's not a guy who lines up outside the numbers and wins in a phone booth. You know, it's a guy who lines up in the backfield, in the slot, motions, and can line up outside, do all those things. I mean, that's Jackson. That's basically this team right now. Just throw the ball to Jackson and play with great defense.
Sam Darnold played very good last year in Minnesota, and they let him go. He comes there. He seems to be still doing what he was doing there. What has he done so far this year that makes you believe he can keep that year going?
Yeah, I mean, I don't know how sustainable this is because his decision-making and accuracy has just been nails. You know, it reminds me of Geno Smith's first year here. I think he was up towards 70% completions, but also still had a great air yards per attempt. I think Sam's at 70 or close to it, and his air yards are pretty high as well. And I bring up air yards instead of just raw yards per attempt because these guys, if you can air it out accurately without jeopardizing ball security, I mean, well, then you're one of the best in the game, you know, because that's the name of it. You know, everybody can be kind of check down Charlie with accuracy. You know, that's kind of what Aaron Rodgers is living in right now. We saw Drew Brees kind of live in that world before, and guys can do it, and that's fine. I just named 2 Hall of Famers, but I think there's something special about guys who's like, okay, I can throw this 40-yard bomb on a rope, throw this slant on a line, you know, hit this dig route in stride, you know, do a little bit of everything accurately. And when they drop back a bunch, they're not putting the ball in harm's way a ton. You know, Sam's done it a little bit, but not the Sam Darnold we're accustomed to. You know, not even the Sam Darnold he was in the last couple of games in Minnesota where he was just awful. You know, he hasn't been that. He's been pretty good, one of the best quarterbacks in the league in terms of just efficiency, accuracy, and the stuff that you want your quarterback to be. So, I don't know how sustainable it is because the roof caved in last year, you know, on him late in the year. Well, like this time last year, Sam was great as well, you know. So hopefully he can sustain it. But I just think more important than sustainability is how he's playing in this moment, which is really good.
We are talking with Michael-Shawn Dugar here on the Ruud Guest Hotline. Ruud makes the best and most reliable heating and air conditioning products in the DMV. You can follow Mike at Mike Dugar, Dugar. Read all of his work covering the Seahawks for The Athletic. I know you've been covering the Seahawks for some time. Like, how good is this team compared to? I'm not talking the top of the top Legion of Boom days, but there were still some quite good teams during kind of the second half of that Pete Carroll run. Like, you understand this franchise. What is kind of the ceiling of this team? How good are they?
I mean, yeah, the NFC, I just wrote about this morning on The Athletic. The NFC is pretty wide open. There's no one who is a true, like, juggernaut like we've had in the past where it looked like no one could beat Philly, in January, or no one really wanted to go to the Bay to play some of those 49ers teams that were just really rolling and were kind of like the Avengers, with all the talent that they had. We don't really have that. A bunch of good teams, but everyone has their warts. Green Bay has showed some inconsistencies. They had a game where they gave up 40 and a game where they only scored 10. They're not perfect. Philly has its problems depending on whether A.J. Brown wants to create them or not on any given Sunday. They just every team I can go down the list here has its warts. Seattle too. Seattle doesn't run the ball particularly well. One of the worst third down offenses in the league right now. Those are two things that typically will get you a trip to Cancun in January if you keep those up. So I think at a time when there's not a true front runner, they're just as much a contender as anyone else in the conference. That is, I don't really care about the AFC in that context because I mean, who cares if the Seahawks aren't better than the Chiefs right now, right? Like if you see them in February, you accomplished a big part of your goal, right? So just looking at the NFC,
Totally.
I think Green Bay, Detroit, Philly. We'll see what happens with Tampa. The Niners, the Rams. Everybody is kind of clustered in this same, hey, this could be our year group. And I think the Seahawks are right there because of the things I mentioned. They do really well that tend to translate, pass the ball efficiently, and play really good defense.
You mentioned Jackson Smith being he's been outstanding. Who are the other weapons there that we have to be concerned about? The Washington has to be concerned about.
Concerned, I don't know. I mean, they have other talented players. Cooper Kupp's not washed, so that's good. There was a little fear there. Guys hit 30 in the NFL, and we just assume you got to buy an AARP card, and Kupp's not there at that point in his life. Ken Walker, when he gets going, is still pretty good. A.J. Barner, the tight end, is a great red zone threat. He's got like 4 or 5 touchdowns this year, already through, 7 games. So they got guys who can contribute, but really, I mean, you go look at their target share, you go look at the box score each week. There's no mystery as to how the Seahawks won any given game offensively. It's because they got the ball to number 11. It's really impressive, honestly. It reminds me a little bit of, I think it was the Cowboys team 2 years ago, 2023, where CeeDee Lamb just went nuts. And they had some number 2s. I think it was either Gallup or Cooks that year. But it was really just Dak throwing the ball to CD, and you just really couldn't do anything about that, no matter what, until they got to the playoffs, obviously. And that's kind of how I think Dallas had the number 1 defense that year, too, in scoring. So, yeah, I think this team is built similarly, I think, in that they have other weapons, just like that Dallas team did. They had a couple tight ends that were good, but really every week you had to worry about the quarterback getting the ball to his number 1 guy, and that's going to be the issue for the Commanders on Sunday night.
Speaking of Sunday night, right? Mike McDonald, Seattle's coming off a bye. Like, what do you expect with them having the week off? I think they're getting healthier. Isn't Witherspoon going to be back? I mean, aren't they getting guys back healthy now? What is the injury status?
Yes, it looks like they're going to get Devin Witherspoon back, their Pro Bowl nickel/outside guy. Looks like they're going to get Derek Hall back. They kind of like a 4-man rotation of edge rushers. D Hall's missed a few games with the oblique strain, and now he'll be back. It looks like they're going to get their fullback, Robbie Oots, back. 5th-round pick, Alabama, a rookie this year. That's important for their offense as well because they like to be a fullback under center team. They're throwing it back a little bit as opposed to teams spreading it out more in today's passing game. The Seahawks are like, nah, give me a fullback. Let's get under center and run it right at you. So having him back is going to be huge for a run game that hasn't had much juice lately. So, yeah, they're getting healthier. Mike McDonald, I mean, if you could give Mike McDonald a 25th hour, I'm pretty sure that he would just spend it just dialing up more stuff for his defense. Not sleep, not reading, not an extra podcast. Shoot, he has a 1-year-old. Don't think he'd spend more time of it watching Miss Rachel with his kid. It would be like, okay, how can I make our third down defense better? Like, he's that maniacal, And so I think that coming off a bye is probably the worst time to play a Mike McDonald team. So I don't think he's quite Andy Reid in that regard. His track record's more proven coming off a bye, but it wouldn't surprise me if like 8 years from now, Mike McDonald's got one of those crazy point differential and records, just like Andy does, coming off of more time to prepare.
Their defense, you said, has been real good. Now, I know Mike McDonald, when he was in Baltimore, he did some great things as well. How does a mobile quarterback affect that defense, or does it not make a difference?
No, it definitely does. It definitely does. You see it when they play Kyler Murray. Their rush plan is usually entirely different when they go against him. They just want to keep him in the pocket, bottle him up, and that usually requires like one of the edge guys to like, hey, your job is not fly upfield and get sacks today, buddy. I'm sorry, your job is to stay right here and make sure number one doesn't leave this pocket. And that changes how you got to structure your whole front. How you run your games. How you unleash your third down stuff, how you blitz, when you blitz. They did blitz Kyler, got him a couple times too. I think they sacked him actually like 5 or 6 times when they played him in week 4. So they still have a rush plan, but it definitely changes the whole thing. Because that's what every defensive coordinator is afraid of that. It's like, okay, we guarded the first play, maybe we guarded the second read, and then the guys who can then go get a first down with their legs, that keeps guys up. That's what they'd spend the 25th hour preparing for too, if everybody had one. So not to say that they won't have a plan for Jaden. I'm assuming he plays. But yeah, it changes a lot. This team is third in sacks, I want to say, with 23 of them. They're going to try to up that total, but they know it won't be easy. And on top of that, Jaden's really accurate too. So if you pressure him and don't get there, it's not like he's just going to throw some bad ball. He spins it as well as anybody right now too. So that would be a nice little chess match for Mike McDonald. But I think the thing that's going to work in his favor on Sunday night is that Mike treats everybody like a pass rusher. D linemen, safeties, corners, nickels, linebacker, everybody is eligible to rush the passer. I think that's huge against running guys as well. You're not just blitzing fat dudes, right? You blitzing DBs, linebackers, guys who can run with the opposing quarterback. So don't be surprised if maybe the Seahawks have 4 sacks on Sunday, right? But only like one of them's from a D lineman.
Watching the McDonald defenses, once he really kind of got full reins to run that thing in Baltimore, and just how exotic and advanced the way they defended the pass game, and now knowing what he's done in Seattle in pretty short order, that will absolutely be a huge chess piece. They also turn it over pretty well, right? What's their giveaway takeaway margin, and how well do they get to the ball?
It's they get a lot of interceptions. Last time I checked, they were top 5. I don't know how updated that is after the games on Sunday, because I did spend that extra hour or extra time I had off sleeping. But they were like top 5 heading into the bye week. It's really funny. I did check this the other day. The Seahawks are the only team that hasn't forced a fumble, which is weird. You usually see really good defenses, kind of living in that turnover world. Not to say that they can't, punch the ball out. They actually had one on Monday night against the Texans that got punched out, but it was like a weird, funky review, and they ended up accepting an illegal shift penalty. But yeah, as of now, they don't have a fumble force. It's just kind of weird. Maybe because I'm speaking on it now, I may have jinxed them in the right way, I guess, or jinxed the Commanders maybe. That'll change on Sunday night. But yeah, they take the ball away from you because their DBs can catch, the linebackers can catch, and their running backs haven't fumbled either. So the fumble game it's kind of been neutral. They don't give it away, don't take it away. But Sam's done a pretty decent job of protecting the ball in terms of interceptions. Meanwhile, the Seahawks, their back 7 guys catch as well as any unit in the league right now.
So looking at this game, Vegas has installed the Seahawks as road favorites. It hasn't really shifted, even though it sure seems like Jaden's going to play. Coming into this, do you think Seattle is clearly better than the Commanders?
Yeah, I think so. I think the film kind of bears that out for sure, particularly with the injuries to the Commanders' front. That really just weakens a defense that was already kind of shaky as is. So, like, the defense is not too comparable. I think the best thing that the Commanders have going, other than Jaden being healthy, is that the special teams is nails. And then the Seahawks special teams is nails too, so that it almost cancels itself out there, which is unfortunate for the home team. I think offensively, neither team is particularly balanced. I have Bill in fantasy, so I'm very frustrated with the Commanders' rushing numbers since the Chargers game. But so I'm aware that they don't run the ball particularly well, much to my chagrin. And then the Seahawks don't run it particularly well either. So where's the difference making? And I think it's the quarterback play. It's having Jaden not having Terry. We saw how lethal that duo was last year. Well, Sam and Jackson is that, and then some this year. So I think just statistically, look at the two secondaries. And I think Marshawn and Trey Amos have played well the last couple weeks, but on the whole, the numbers aren't great, as you guys know. I love Bobby and Frankie Louvu. I'm a Washington State grad, so I've been watching Frankie for years. That's if you want to throw the ball on the Commanders, that's where you throw it currently. Safeties as well, kind of that middle that Patrick Mahomes was taking advantage of on Monday night. So I think whereas the Seahawks don't have as many holes, like I said, they got their warts, but I think, as you guys know, the Commanders' situation is a little shaky here defensively. Pass rush. We're kind of overly reliant on Seahawks legend Jacob Martin right now, which is not good, even though I like Jacob. So, I can see why the Seahawks are undefeated on the road this year. They're 10-1 on the road under Mike McDonald. So I can see why Vegas looks at the matchup and doesn't care which quarterback is playing and just believes that the Seahawks are going to win.
Well, Mike, we really appreciate your time.
Appreciate you, bro.
Great information. I'll have to come find you in the press box on Sunday and introduce myself. Thank you for joining us, man.
I appreciate it. See you guys Sundays.
Okay. That is Michael-Shawn Dugar, covers the Seahawks for The Athletic. You can give him a follow at Mike Dugar. This is a tough matchup, man, and it's funny because I was in the locker room yesterday and we talked to Deron Payne for a minute, and I asked Deron, I was like, I know that it's not a matchup for you, but when you watch the tape, what do you think of Jackson Smith-Njigba? And Duran's like, who's that? I was like, their receiver. That's an absolute stud. He's like, oh, that's for the DBs, man. I'm just watching watching the O-line. Yeah. It's interesting to me because I don't think, thank you, Kerwin, I don't think JSN has the name value he should yet, but I think he has it. I think he will.
He has it, but Duran is right. When he's looking at a film, he probably has a breakdown where it's just the line.
Right.
Quarterback,
running back.
He don't care about – because, he doesn't have to know what the set is.
Right.
The linebackers and DBs got to worry about that. All he needs to know, who ass I got to whip in front of me.
Yeah, exactly.
You know what I'm saying?